I think we can all agree that the holiday season can be expensive. The average American spends just over $1,000 on Christmas every year. That's according to the National Retail Federation. And most of our budgets can't take that kind of hit, especially during a pandemic. Joining us now with some ways to help, we check in with the author of 23 and Debt Free, Annika Caldwell. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Lisa. It's so good to be with you this morning, and I'm excited that we are talking about this holiday that's coming up.
Okay, so it's not too early to talk about Christmas budgets?
Oh, not at all. I actually asked a question on my Facebook page probably about a month ago now. I just asked, when do you start budgeting or saving for Christmas? And it was interesting what I found. I really found that my followers identified with two main strategies. One being the planner that starts saving well in advance, many times even as early as January. And then the other one being more of your spontaneous spender that often goes shopping at the last minute and, blows the budget they didn't have. So yes, it's great to be talking about Christmas and figuring out how we are going to cash flow, like you said, that $1,000 worth of expenses for many Americans.
So where do we need to start when it comes to planning and budgeting?
Yeah, well, like you said, I always love to start with a budget. That is the most important part to start with when you're making any sort of financial plan. And our budget for Christmas often looks a little bit different. I actually wrote a blog post last year talking about the different types of expenses that you might want to be thinking about in your Christmas budget, because that budget does look so different than our basic day-to-day budget that we have. Once you have that budget in place, it's so much easier to figure out, how am I going to cash flow this? What do I need to save each month in order to make sure that I'm prepared for my holiday expenses? And, there are lots of creative things that we can do to help set aside that savings.
Okay, so give us some easy ways to set aside money that we don't think we have.
Yeah, and so when you're thinking about, heading into the Christmas season, you're looking at this budget you have, and you're maybe thinking, oh gosh, really, I only have 2 months left to save this. And as I'm looking at my budget, I don't really feel like I have enough wiggle room to save what I ultimately need in order to cash flow my Christmas. So if you're falling in that boat, I would encourage you to get creative and look for ways that you can increase your cash flow for the next couple months. So maybe you can pick up a couple extra shifts at work. Maybe there's something that you do on the side that you can do a little bit more of, whether that's, tutoring kids in math, or that's, making some crafty things for people to buy. There are so many ways that you can increase that cash flow. Now, maybe you're thinking, I'm not really crafty, I'm not good at math. That's fine. Open your closets and start to look through them. I am amazed at the things that we have in our home that we're not using. And you can earn so much money by taking just a few pictures of a few items every day and listing them on somewhere like Facebook Marketplace. There was a period of time during our debt-free journey where I actually brought in $1,000 in 2 weeks just selling junk out of our closets.
Your junk, someone else's treasure. I love the idea. I do kind of like to look through that Facebook rummage sale. I never really think about doing it the other way, selling to make some money, but I have lots of junk in my house. That's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So good ways to kind of clear things out that you don't need, but then also increase that cash flow as you walk into the holiday season and bulk up those savings to take care of that Christmas budget that you've set.
And what do you see as the biggest, budget buster?
On a typical month, I would say the biggest budget buster that we see for people is food. I don't know that necessarily holds true at Christmas time. I would say at Christmas time, the biggest budget buster that we typically see is gifts. But food is right there up there with gifts as well. There are lots of different categories to consider in your budget. As you're walking into the Christmas season, I also just really encourage people to kind of step back and take a moment and just reflect on what is truly important to them. This is a season where the picture perfect look on Facebook and Instagram becomes even more popular. And we see pictures of other families in their matching pajamas. We see, these elaborate Christmas trees and decorations in front yards. And it can be really easy to feel the pressure to keep up with everyone else. So I really encourage people to step back before the holiday season begins and determine what is important to you and really set your boundaries before you walk into this next season.
Okay, it's not too late, a couple months out. Now, we talked a lot last time you were on the show about some different things you're doing online, and it sounds like you have an online event coming up next week.
Yes, we do. So that series that we talked about last time, Lisa, Saving Money Simply, it's a 3-part webinar series, and we are talking about, just like the webinar says, we are talking about how you can save money and how you can do it simply. Now, part 3 of our webinar series is coming up this Tuesday at 8 p.m. And we're going to be talking about living on less and loving it. So during our debt-free journey, we cut costs so much so that we were living on just 15% of our income, and we're sharing some of our best tips in our webinar on Tuesday.
Okay, that sounds great. If people want to get a hold of you or would like some help, maybe some financial counseling, how can they do that?
Yeah, we offer a lot of resources completely free on our Facebook and Instagram pages, and that's 23 and Debt Free. We also offer one-on-one financial coaching. So to access our resources, to send us a message, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or head over to our website, 23anddebtfree.com.
As always, thank you so much for your great advice. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Lisa.
Stay with us. Coming up next, we're talking with Jeff from A Cutting Edge about some great sales for the season.